So I want to talk about this since we're in a municipal broadband theme today. Here's what I was referring to here in California. So there was a bill called SB4, and we'll take a quick look at what it is. Communications California Advanced Services Fund. The bill would require the office to coordinate with other relevant state and local agencies and national organizations to explore ways to facilitate streamlining of local and land use approvals, blah, 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 blah. And they're going to do a, here we go. So infrastructure projects up to $300,000 and for broadband infrastructure. And it's going to specialize in places where where there's very poor internet service available to begin with. Broadband adoption account, and this is all with the CASF. So basically, they're putting money into broadband. They're going to start with very underserved areas and expand from there. That's basically what they're saying. There was a letter of over a dozen digital rights organizations in support of this bill. So, sounds like a good bill. Sounds like it's essential, especially in a pandemic. Well, how did it get stopped? Here's how it got stopped. This is an article by a guy named Steve Blum, who's a friend of the show, who's been on the show before. The fight over California's broadband future resumed in Sacramento on Monday, with the battle line unchanged from August's stalemate. As expected, Lena Gonzalez introduced Senate Bill 4. Now, here we go. It takes 3 to tango in Sacramento. The Assembly's leadership speaker, Anthony Rendon, and Democratic Floor leader Ann Calhoun bowed to the hundreds of thousands of dollars that they've been paid by AT&T, Comcast, Charter Communications, and other incumbents, and killed the deal. Now, if you follow this show and you live in California, or you just kind of follow the single-payer movement in the country, why does the name Anthony Rendon sound familiar to you? Because he's the same person who stabbed our single-payer bill in the back. So the same guy his nickname is the single payer slayer here in California. And he got that nickname when Game of Thrones was really in full swing, obviously. But he's the single payer slayer. Now he's the broadband slayer too. Now he's the broadband slayer too. He did it both. He did it both great. How do you sleep at night? I'm the guy that stabbed single payer and broadband in the back. Do you want to go to the doctor? Do you want decent internet, which is a utility in our lives at this point? Well, I'm going to do my part to make sure neither of those two things happen. How do you look in the mirror? Like how do you look at your neighbor? How do you walk down the street and be like, "Oh, I'm the guy. Your life could be so much better in so many ways, and I'm the guy who's making sure that doesn't happen."
Yeah, it's the power hungry. They know they have the power, and you know, their big question is, well, what can you do for me? And it's like, well, you haven't done anything for us for for you to be asking the question like that. Like you've essentially taken away like basic rights from human beings, and you're like, what can you do for me for you to breathe this air? Like, no, we're breathing the air already. Like, just let us continue to breathe it. Like people like him I never understand people like him and what their end goal is, other than profit, which is basically what he's doing. He's just making a shit ton of money over the rights of people, right? Over giving basic utility to people when we have kids sitting outside Taco Bell trying to do their homework. Like,
yes, well, that's the thing. And it's like, that's the other thing I keep coming back to. I'm like, we are in a place right now, especially during a pandemic, where people rely on the internet for everything, even more so than before, even more so. So you're literally saying it is up to companies like AT&T and Comcast. These are some of the most despicable companies in the world. And it's up to them whether your children learn or not. Yeah. From a moral standpoint, this is a no-brainer a million times over. And it is the future. And so we're either gonna try to strike ahead of the curve, or we're going to wait until it's too late. And that's why I'm acting on municipal broadband now. Because it's not like I live in an underserved area. I don't. There is cable infrastructure here, but this is the future. The future is the internet needs to be a utility in all of our lives. And we can't wait for the federal government to step in. We just can't, because they're not going to. Because if you think people at the state level are lobbied by big cable, which they are, how bad do you think it is federally?
Yeah.
It's a million times worse. And guess what? President-elect Joe Biden started his campaign in a dinner with Comcast executives.
Yeah, I was just about to
So, yeah,
mention that.
we're up against Goliath, folks. But you got to start in your community, and you got to start now, because this is the future. And if we wait until it's inevitable, if we wait until the internet gets gutted in a post-net neutrality world, if we wait until then, it will be too late. And once they take a medium from you, you don't get it back. Ask anybody who worked in fucking radio in the 90s. They'll tell you. Once you lose a medium, you don't get it back. And if you think it's unrealistic that we could live in a world where we're telling our children and our grandchildren what the internet used to be like, it's not unrealistic. And this is how you prevent it. So maybe that's what I should have opened with in the meeting. Do you want our kids and grandchildren to know what the internet's like? Huh? Ron Swanson?
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your